Наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі.
When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the world expected the war to end in just a few days. Many thought Ukraine would surrender quickly, because Russia was stronger, richer, and had one of the biggest armies on earth. Yet something surprising happened. Ukraine did not give up. Its people stood and fought, city by city and street by street. The question is, why did Ukraine choose to fight when the odds looked impossible? What gave them that courage? And was that a wise or foolish decision by President Volodymyr Zelensky? Why everyone thought Ukraine would fall. At the start of the war, most experts believed Russia would win in less than a week. Russia had thousands of tanks, fighter jets and missiles, while Ukraine had far fewer. Russia's military budget was more than 10 times larger. On paper, it looked like a mismatch. But wars are not fought on paper. They are fought by people who believe they have something worth protecting. The power of national identity. Ukraine had spent decades building its own identity. For years, Russia called Ukrainians one people and said Ukraine was not a real country. But for Ukrainians, that was exactly the reason to resist. The invasion felt like someone breaking into their home and claiming it was theirs. This attack didn't scare Ukrainians into surrendering. It united them like never before. People who had never touched a gun took up arms. Teachers, engineers, and students all joined the fight. That sense of belonging, that idea that this is our land, became their strongest weapon. The leadership of Zelensky. When the invasion began, Western officials offered to evacuate President Zelensky to safety. His answer became famous. "I need ammunition, not a ride." That sentence changed everything. Zelensky, who had once been a comedian, suddenly became a wartime leader. He refused to hide and appear on television in the same streets where missiles were falling. His calm and courage gave his people hope. When leaders show fear, nations collapse. When they show courage, nations rise. Zelensky's decision to stay in Kyiv turned him into a symbol, not only for Ukraine, but for the world. Global support and morale. Ukraine's bravery caught the world's attention. Western countries began sending weapons, aid, and money. Volunteers from around the globe joined Ukrainian forces. Sanctions hit Russia's economy hard. Ukraine's stand reminded the world that courage can shape politics. The more Ukraine resisted, the more support it received. Each day of survival became proof that Russia's quick victory was just a myth. Why surrender was never an option. For Ukraine, surrendering did not mean peace. It meant losing freedom, losing independence, and losing the right to decide their future. Many Ukrainians remembered what happened in Crimea in 2014, where people lost their homes and rights after Russia took control. They knew that if they surrendered, they would no longer be Ukrainians. They would live under Russian rule, and everything they had built since independence in 1991 would vanish. For them, it was better to fight and die free than to live without a country. Was Zelensky's decision wise or foolish? At first glance, some people thought it was foolish to fight a superpower. They said it would only bring destruction. Yet history often rewards those who stand up, even when the world says they cannot win. Zelensky's choice was dangerous, but it changed how the world saw Ukraine. His decision made Ukraine not just a small country resisting invasion, but a symbol of freedom and democracy. It brought allies, weapons, and global sympathy. Yes, the war brought pain and loss. Cities were destroyed and lives were lost. But if Ukraine had surrendered, it might have lost its soul forever. Sometimes wisdom is not about staying safe. It is about standing for something greater than survival. What made Ukraine stand up? It was not weapons or armies, it was belief. Belief that freedom matters more than fear, belief that identity cannot be taken by force, belief that a small nation can still defend its dignity against a much bigger one. Ukraine's fight is a reminder that power is not only measured by tanks or missiles, it is also measured by willpower. So why did Ukraine not surrender? Because it knew that giving up would mean losing everything that made it Ukraine. Because its people refused to be controlled again. Because a leader chose courage over comfort. Was it wise or foolish? History will judge that. But what we know today is this: when one nation stood against a superpower, it reminded the world that bravery still matters. If you found this story meaningful, subscribe to hear more simple and powerful explanations about how choices made by nations can change the course of history. Understanding them helps us see that courage is not just about winning. It is about refusing to kneel.